Hey guys, what's happening? Hey, I wanted to talk today about a little bit about jealousy and just so I have to disclose something, right? Early on when I was younger, um, I was not jealous, but I was always worried about women cheating on me, right? Because when I was young, starting I would say about 16 years old, I was cheated on. I was at a party. I was dating this Mormon chick, right? And she was a cheerleader, all that shit. And we get along pretty well, you know. But I was at a party one time, like she would always tell me that she couldn't dance at dances, I mean, that's a Mormon thing. And, she couldn't kiss and yeah, on the first date or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't remember all the details, but she would give me excuses, right? And we were at a party one time, and my buddy, my best friend, told me, "Hey, man, your girl's here with some other dude," and he took me over to where they were at. Right? Well, it turns out she was like fucking him in the back of like a a Bronco or some shit, right? So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting, right? That's really, I mean," I was like, "Dude, that's fucked up." So anyway, make a long story short, ever since then, I've just been like always, well, not now. I don't nowhere near that now. Um, I would always like fear that the woman was gonna, take off or cheat or something of that nature. You know what I mean? I was always worried about that, right? And when I got red pilled, I started realizing like where that came from because that's not my demeanor, right? My demeanor is just real laid back. Honestly, to be honest with you, I could give a shit, right? I don't care. Like a woman can come into my life, we can hang out, have fun, do whatever, and then she can break out. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Especially now, I've gotten worse now. Um, and it's not really worse. It's just like, you know, women are a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? It's just now a good woman, that can hold a conversation, that can, and I'll talk about what I'm looking for in somebody, you know what I mean? But there's just, you know, I I don't care enough. I don't care enough. Like I'm indifferent to it. It's not that I don't care about people or whatever. I'm just indifferent to the whole situation, to the whole dating scene, you know what I mean? And what it means. And, you know, I just have a different perspective, you know. So, but what I used to do is I used to hold on to them like impending death, right? Like, oh, don't leave, you know what I mean? Because I had this narrative that you had to get married, you had to have kids, you had to do all this stuff, right? And deep down inside, I was just like, I don't know if I really want to do that. It never felt real to me until my ex fiance. I mean, then for some reason that was very different, right? It had a completely different feel because it was fucking next level. Um, but then that I realized that one real quick, right? But the thing is that what I'm trying to get at, right, is there's a narrative out there, right? There's a serious narrative in the world that tells men that they got to get married, they got to have kids, they got to have a family, they got to do this, they got to do that, right? So what I see every single man, right? All of my friends, everybody around me, that's the narrative. That's what they tell me. Well, happy wife, happy life. I got to find somebody. I got to get married. The clock is ticking. All their buddies are pressuring them. When are you going to get married, man? When are you going to get married? And I fell into that a little bit, right? I mean, I had a friend that basically wouldn't call me up. He had his wife and kids and stuff, and I baptized his son, and they wouldn't call me up and let me, like join in their party or whatever, um, their family events, because I was always the single guy. Um, and that's just kind of the story of my life, right? I've always been the single guy. Nobody, so nobody would that w- all the married couples would kind of single me out and never invite me, you know what I mean? And um the wives would always think that I was the bad influence, right? Because I was the single guy. In actuality, their husbands were the influences because I've already done it. I mean, I've already been there, done that, got the fucking t-shirt. So I didn't really need to do it, right? I didn't feel that I needed to go out to clubs or any of that shit. I don't know, that dynamic was kind of interesting. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we're sold a bunch of goods that we got to get married, we got to have kids, and it's got to be this way. And what I see with a lot of men, a lot of my friends, including myself, and I mentioned this in some of my other videos, is that I see the men becoming less so the women can become more. Like my one of my closest friends got married, and I'd be like, "Hey man, let's go play golf. Let's go let's go hang out." "No, I can't, this and that." And I said, "Why can't you?" "Well, my wife is out doing this and that." I said, "Well, didn't she do that last weekend?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, but it's her thing." I'm like, "Well, what about your thing?" I just never really understood that. Um, and that's what I don't understand, right? Is every single guy that I've known, I mean, this is in my experience, I'm talking in my experience, has always given up their life for a woman. They gave up everything that they were before they met that woman, and now there's something different, right? They gave up all the fun shit that they did when they weren't married, when they weren't with her. They gave all that shit up, and now they're just recluse. I mean, they're just totally with the woman, you know what I mean, or at the beck and call of the woman, you know. And honestly, that's the worst thing to do, man. That is the absolute worst thing to do, because once a woman knows she's got you, man, she's gonna use that against you. You know what I mean? And you have no leverage. If you stay in your frame and you say, "No, I'm gonna go out and play golf with the guys," you figure it out. You know, I mean, you got responsibilities, you got kids, you got stuff like that. You got to work that out, right? Of course. I'm not just saying just leave them, but I'm saying you got to have some sort of agreement and put your foot down. You know what I mean? And be able to go do what you want to do. Because what people don't understand is, like, when the woman goes out and does her thing, comes home, and the man goes out and does his thing, comes home, you're better for that, right? You don't always have to hang around all the time together. You just don't, right? That's unhealthy. Um, hanging around quite a bit. I mean, ideally your wife or your husband should be your best friend, you know what I mean, to some extent, right? But you need that separation, right? You need other people in your life to be able to enrich your life. Um, and I speak from experience here, right? I mean, I've seen it, I've done it. And the one thing that I used to do that pisses me off to this day, man, is I used to like hold on to women and just I wasn't I don't say I wouldn't say I'm jealous. I was just worried about losing that and not getting married. I was more afraid of going against the narrative, right? And now that I look back on it, it's really stupid. Um, because I don't feel like that anymore. I don't I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I'm at the point in my life where somebody's going to have to really knock me out. Like I mean, they're really going to have to come at me. Like, you know, the woman I'm dating right now, she's cool as shit, man. She's really 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 fucking cool. But there's aspects about her. She's got a lot of shit going on. She's gonna have a lot of shit on her plate pretty soon, right? So that's number one. Um, Number two is like there's not like okay, how do I explain it? She shows interest, right, to some extent, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of surface interest. It's not. It's I think she asked because she is interested, but it's not like, oh my God, that's really interesting, or you know what I mean? We have conversations about it. The woman I dated before her, we used to have conversations about stuff, like intellectual conversation. It used to get deep, you know what I mean? And this one I don't get that deep with. And that's okay. I'm not saying I got to get deep with everybody, right? But I need somebody to show me what they're about. You know what I mean? And show me, like I find it really interesting when she talks about work and what she does at work and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But part of me is me because I'm not 100% into anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't want a relationship. I don't want that part. I don't want to text all the time. I don't want, I love my time alone. I do. I really do. I like being alone 99.9% of the time. I really do. Um, I don't know. That's just the way I'm built. You know, maybe I'll change. I don't know the answer to that. But all I know is that right now I'm good with what it is. Like I see her once a week. This last week I saw her twice, and that was a little bit too much for me. You know what I mean? I'd be okay with once every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm cool with being by myself. And I'm an only child, so I mean, I can do everything by myself. You know what I mean? And I'm confident in myself. I can go everywhere by myself. I can talk to people. Yeah, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I really don't. And that's kind of what you got to do, man. You got to get really comfortable in your own shoes. You got to get comfortable being out and about and being able to do stuff on your own. My my mom used to tell me you weren't born a twin, so you don't need to go with anyone else. You know what I mean? And it's important. You know. So after I got red pilled, I did see the Matrix, right? And I saw that um, this narrative that I was living my entire life was not true. And I started living what I really wanted to live, like by my own, what was really deep down inside. Like I told you, I never saw the point of getting married. I would never wanted to get married. I never had the urge to get married. I just thought it was something that I needed to do to fit the narrative, and then to fit in with my friends. You know what I did? I got rid of my friends. And I got rid of my belief of the narrative, right? And you know what? That was completely freeing. Because if a woman comes into my life, it's like, okay, you can kick it or you can go. I really don't care. And they always seem to stay. You know what I mean? Like it's the opposite effect. When you show that you're indifferent and you don't really care and it's not really a big deal, they end up sticking around. You'd be surprised. And that's okay too. I mean, it is what it is. I don't care either way. Um, you know, they're cool chicks, just as long as they know that I'm not into a relationship. I don't want a relationship. I don't want to go anywhere. This is not going anywhere, and just it is what it is. You know what I mean? Unless I find somebody that is fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? Like has a good job, no kids, has, maybe some interest or open to interest, right? Works out, takes good care of herself. I'm not asking for a 10. I'm not asking a hard 6 I'd be cool with, right? That has a fantastic personality. I would take a hard 6 with a fantastic personality over a 10 in a fucking millisecond because I've dated 9 and 10s and they're cool, you know what I mean? And I kind of bring out the fun in them, a little bit. I'm like, loosen up, man. Fuck, dude. You know what I mean? They're all their ass is tight. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, dude, loosen the fuck up. You're not that. Nobody's that fucking fine. You know what I mean? So, and when I start telling them that, you'd be surprised, man. They get fucking, they actually like that shit. Um, I just don't put up with that shit. I don't put up with, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, man, life's too short and I'm cool with being by myself, so I don't need anybody. And you know what? That's attractive to most women. Um, so yeah, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that because I was talking with the woman I'm dating now, and her ex-husband or soon to be ex-husband is giving her a lot of shit. I mean, like he at one point he found out that I don't know, she was talking to some dude or whatever, but she wasn't getting what she needed at home. So she was not talk. I don't know, man. He got jealous, right? He got jealous about her talking to somebody or giving attention to someone else. So he started monitoring everything, asking all kinds of questions. Everything was a problem. She went to the fucking grocery store, it was a problem. And you shouldn't have to live that way. Guys, when you get married, you have to continue dating your wife, right? And you got to make it fun for them. You got to keep it interesting. What I've noticed in my generation, the values were extremely different. Extremely different. Marriage had a different meaning, right? In my parents' age, my parents are the silent generation, so they're a little bit before the boomers. But even in the boomers era, right? Marriage meant marriage. You guys work it out. You guys stay together. Um, but then, I'm Gen X. Gen X got a little bit, we were like, okay, we're gonna stay together. But then once you hit a certain point, once you got to like 35, 40 years old, you said, fuck it, I'm out. You know what I mean? Because the guy wasn't doing what he needed to do. You know what I mean? And the woman too. I mean, don't get me wrong. It works both ways. Um, but now in the generation now, right? The millennials and Gen Z and all that shit, dude, with social media and all that shit, man, you'd be lucky if you stay married. You get the 7-year itch, that's it, man. You know what I mean? Like people give up on marriages really quick. They're quick to get divorced and move on. They want to chase down these dating apps and all this shit. You know what I mean? So you gotta really keep it interesting. Back in the day, you didn't have to work as hard. Now you have to work even harder. You know what I mean? So you got to put in. If you're thinking about getting married, you got to really fucking ask yourself, right? Am I willing to put in the effort to make this last forever? You know what I mean? If you are, fuck, go for it, man. More power to you, man. I give it to you. I don't know if I have it in me. I'll be honest. And I'm sure as hell not giving anybody half my shit. So getting married is out of the picture for me. I'm sure as hell not having kids anymore because I had a vasectomy. So yeah, you know what I mean. So like dating, the probably the best case scenario for me with regard to marriage would probably be like being together but living in separate fucking homes. You know what I mean? She comes over here and spends the night, or I go over there and spend the night. That's probably as far as I would go. You know what I mean? I just, they start breaking my balls about marriage and all that shit. I'll just be like, hey, man, you know, unless she's bomb ass and there's a prenup involved, and you know what I mean? Like, I got to protect mine. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, man, you got to be careful. CYA, man, cover your ass no matter what. Even if she's all over you, even if she's doting, all that shit. Nah, man, don't trust it. Don't trust it. You know what I mean? Because the person that you marry is not the person you divorce. And the divorce rate is 55%. So keep that into consideration, right? I like to play the odds. So I'm not taking that chance, man. You know what I mean? There's too much ass out there. And I still look all right. You know what I mean? I'm still not a bad looking dude. So as long as I still have my hair, man, fuck it. I'm still going. I'm still dating. Um, so guys, you know what? If you're feeling jealous and you're feeling uh like she's doing something, chances are she is. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I watched this YouTube video. Um, this divorce lawyer, James Saxton, man, that motherfucker said, if you get the feeling that she's cheating, she probably is. I believe that guy, man. He's seen so many divorces. I'm telling you, man. I should have been a divorce lawyer, man. I'd have been a good one, number one. Number two, I'd have made a shit ton of money because there's so much going on out there. I hate to say it, and I hate that this is happening, but I want to help you guys and give you guys the right perspective. I think a lot of people just jump into marriage because it sounds good and because of the narrative, right? Everybody's out there saying, "Oh, you got to get married, you got to have kids, you got to do this and you got to do that." No, no, it's not written anywhere, man. You know, do what feels right for you. It never felt right for me. So I went with my instinct. And sure enough, man, my instinct has been 100% on. Because every relationship that I've ever been in, obviously I'm not in them anymore. And when I look back on them, I'm like, oh, thank God, man, I dodged a bullet. You know what I mean? So you got to really take that into consideration. It may look overwhelming right now, if you have to leave her or something, you have to make a hard decision. But I guarantee you, you look 5 years down the line, look back at this shit, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, thank God, man. You know what I mean? You're feeling that way for a reason. Your intuition is there for a reason. It's to protect you. So use it for sure. All right, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.